Now to the Michigan Senate race, where a Democratic candidate is forging a controversial alliance with a left-wing streamer who has defended Hamas terrorists. Abu al-Sayed campaigned yesterday with 34-year-old Hasan Piker, who has more than 3 million followers on the gaming platform Twitch, as well as YouTube. Here he is at the al-Sayed rally in Ann Arbor.
Every single person in here, and myself included, saw heinous war crimes take place every single day for the past 2.5 years. And we didn't stand idly by, we spoke out. And in the beginning, it was a lot lonelier when we spoke out. They used the same exact heinous smears. They said, you're anti-Semitic. They said, you are a radical Islamist, you're a radical fundamentalist, but also really woke at the same time. Doesn't really make sense. And back then, I felt a lot lonelier, but I don't feel lonely anymore.
That is Hasan Piker attempting to airbrush his past statements. Here's some of what he actually has said about the depravity of the October 7th terror attack, the deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Quote, "It doesn't matter if effing rapes happened on October 7th. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me. The Palestinian resistance is not perfect." Now, let that sink in. Hasan Piker is excusing sexual violence by Hamas terrorists. He also claims Hamas is, quote, 1,000 times better than Israel. Hamas is a designated terror organization, not just by the U.S., but by the EU, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, just to name a few. And here's what Piker said about the horrors of September 11th, 2001.
America deserved 9/11, dude. F it. I'm saying it. Like, we fucking totally brought it on ourselves, dude. Holy shit. We did. We fucking did.
Now, Piker did later call that comment inappropriate and said he didn't mean Americans deserved to die. Several progressive politicians have appeared with Piker on Twitch, including Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Senator Bernie Sanders, and Congressman Ro Khanna. Other Democrats, including al-Sayed's primary opponents in Michigan, Mallory McMorrow and Haley Stevens, not only refuse, but both condemn Piker and his comments. My panel is back now. David Chalian?
I just think this is a fascinating bet that al-Sayed is making here, that like refusing to back down from his association with Piker, embracing it, standing with him is a political bet. And it doesn't mean, you know, all those comments you went through, that will play a role here too. As you noted, McMorrow and Stevens, his opponents, are going to make this a part of the campaign. But the Sayed operation is betting the Piker popularity with the base is the safer bet in the cost-benefit analysis to make for him. And I just think that that's a really interesting thing to have us watch, because the politics of Israel inside the Democratic Party, especially in a state of Michigan, with a big Arab American population, as we saw in the 24 primary, this is still like a live wire inside the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a state where there were almost 100-something preschoolers almost murdered by a terrorist who, you know, obviously was, thank God, stopped from doing it. Piker talked to our colleague, Donnie O'Sullivan, and a couple of weeks ago, and I want to play what he said.
I've spent my entire professional media career and far beyond that combating anti-Semitism. I've been doxxed, swatted by neo-Nazis for my consistent advocacy against anti-Semitism. I just also happen to be an avowed anti-Zionist. I believe Zionism is a very racist ideology. It's an ethno-religious supremacist ideology, and it's the underpinning ideology that has caused the genocide of Palestinians in the hands of Israel and also the United States of America.
Now, just a little bit of sort of fact-checking here and context, because it's important, because these terms are thrown around without, understandably, people really knowing what they mean to a lot of people. First of all, Zionism. What is it actually? It's a nationalist movement, an ideology supporting the notion of a Jewish state, the Jewish people's right to self-determination. He just called that a racist ideology, the right for Jews to have self-determination. Deborah Lipstadt, who is one of the foremost experts, academic experts, who worked in the State Department on anti-Semitism. I talked to her about this a couple of years ago and many times since. the difference between quote unquote anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. Here's how she answered that.
Criticism of Israeli policy is not anti-Semitism, but when you question the right of Jews to a national identity, when you question the existence of a Jewish state, you've moved beyond the political.
Shelby?
Yeah, I mean, when you, I think he's sort of intentionally trying to get in the weeds here to maybe shift the spotlight away from some of his past comments, which I think everyone can agree are unacceptable. But this is the broader issue, I think, in this day and age in particular, with everybody being so online, with a ton of younger voters starting to get in the mix on both sides of the aisle. The ultimate question is, how far do we want to go with this? And one of the reasons that Democrats lost in the last election was because the American people felt like they were too far to the left and they weren't necessarily representing the average American voter. And so it's really interesting that you have candidates who are teaming up with people who are sort of on the very far left side of it. On the flip side, you have the same issue in the Republican Party, where you have fringe folks sort of trying to weasel their way into this quote unquote mainstream orbit. And there's a question with both parties of, what do we do with these folks? Should we be going on their podcast? Should we be denouncing them?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an important point. What was before thought of as fringe, here, both sides are definitely sort of moving into the mainstream slowly but surely. On that note, you mentioned it's Michigan, but it's beyond that. Ro Khanna, for example, he said that he has no regrets about appearing on Hasan Piker's show.
It's interesting because going back to the last presidential campaign, you were mentioning the Democrats moving to the left. Another reason they struggled is, they often face criticism on not meeting people where they were, just communication-wise, right? And, Hasan Piker, other influencers, these people have millions of followers, right? And Dems see it as a way to reach a younger, disgruntled base that is losing faith in their political system, right? But the dynamic that you're talking about, what comes with that benefit of reaching those folks? Yes, you had the interview there with Hasan Piker. I think what's even going to be more influential is the questions that are put to the politicians that choose to go on these platforms. They're also going to face the questions of whether or not they defend these statements and these views.
All right. Thanks to all of you. Thank you for joining us on Inside Politics today. CNN News Central starts after a quick break.